One of the common discussions that comes up this time of the year is for grazing. A couple problems we see with summer grazing is getting good utilization of the pastures, and with the tubs we can draw the cattle out into areas they may not normally and willingly go, so you can use tubs to drag them to those parts to better utilize the pasture and get more grazing days. And then flies is another big concern. With the Riomax, we're using the Altasoid or the IGR, which targets a horn fly. The horn flies ride on the back of the cattle. They feed between 20 and 40 times a day, and their life cycle is about 2 to 4 weeks. So with the Altasoid in the tub, the cattle can ingest it. It goes through their system, out in manure, and the fly larva feeds off it, the Altasoid at that point, where it kills the larva. So no impact to the cattle other than getting rid of the flies so that they can get out there and graze. If the flies are bothering real bad, you'll see the cattle facing into the wind and up in the corner of the pastures. If they're standing there just stomping their feet, you've got stable fly problem. Stable flies focus more on the lower legs, and then the horn flies, they'll be throwing their heads and swishing their tails over their back. And that's where we can help with the Altasoid.
I'm here to talk to you about 3 other issues that can show up during the summertime with your cattle herd. Foot rot, pink eye, and summer pneumonia. Now, with all 3 of these, if you've got a very sound nutrition program that's feeding through the springtime and using a good solid mineral program, you can alleviate most of these issues. Sometimes they still show up, but the economic devastation, you can really keep that from happening. So with foot rot, you see the rain happening around us and stuff, that's when it's prevalent to show up. Wet conditions, trauma to the foot would then allow us to have infection go into the foot. How can we prevent that to a certain degree? Have a good mineral program that's very solid in copper, zinc, and got a fair amount of EDDI or organic iodine in the product. Second is pink eye. Pink eye comes from trauma to the eye, whether from flies or sticking their eyes in trying to get the grass and irritating it a little bit. There are ways to take care of that nutritional wise with a mineral program. Make sure that your minerals got a good level of vitamin A and E and a good level of zinc and selenium. Last but not least, the summer pneumonia. A big time issue that can show up. There again is a solid nutrition program, a solid mineral program. Whether if you have a good mineral program, the vaccines that you use before you put them out on pasture should work. But in certain situations, certain areas, you have some tie-ups, so you may have to go to a higher level of minerals, trace minerals, and maybe go on to the chelated side. With our products, we do have rumen bypass, 100% rumen bypass mineral in our tubs. So we are allowing your animals to be able to get the best shot that they can to make the best return on investment for you.
So 3 main questions that I run into, I get asked a lot. Number 1 being poor calf gains throughout the summer. Number 2 being creep feed issues, being cost. Then also, reducing labor costs throughout the summer. Touching on the first one, poor calf gains. One of the things that we're focusing very heavily on is helping that mother cow produce a better quality milk. We're also seeing more sustainable milk, and we're also seeing an increase in butter count. Anytime you see more butter count in that milk, you're going to see more calf gain because there's more fat in that milk. touching on the creep feed issues, I know it's very expensive. I get guys asking me, how can we reduce or eliminate it? Great question. I always look at, what are you doing with it? What's the purpose of feeding it? I do have a lot of guys that have went away from feeding creep feed 100% because of the results they're seeing. Actually been able to increase results, not reduce results, increase frame growth, increase weight gain on those calves, while eliminating the cost or reducing the cost of a creep feed. Other question, touching on the labor, looking at how can we reduce labor. Anytime you're feeding a Riomax program, it's a low consumption by design. I mean, for example, 50 cows, one 250-pound tub, the minimum it can last is 15 days. So you're putting out tubs every 2 weeks versus every week. So reducing that wear and tear on equipment, wear and tear on employees or labor. Also looking at your creep feed. If we can reduce the amount of creep feed we're using or eliminate it, therefore you're having less labor involved there. The other thing is thinking about your herd health. Anytime we can have healthier animals, we have less labor involving moving those cows, treating those cows, that kind of thing. So just looking at ways that we can reduce labor cost and increase productivity in your herd. Thanks for watching. Feel free to give us a call with further questions. Hope this answered your summer questions. I do appreciate it. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot of really good information there. I strongly recommend it. Thanks much. Take care.